Hello, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you your drugstore hidden gems. I asked you guys on Instagram, what are the drugstore products that should be viral but are not viral and you absolutely swear by but nobody talks about them? So I compiled a list of responses to products that I mostly have not yet tried, or it's been a long time since I tried it, so that we can hopefully discover some new favorites together. The last time I did this type of video, I discovered a new favorite concealer, the Neutrogena Creamy Radiant Concealer, a couple of years ago. To this day, that is one of my favorite concealers, so hopefully there's another winner in here. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the first product. Hopefully the lighting's all right. It's very early in the morning and the sun is coming up. It's not quite up yet. I usually film in the afternoon when the sun is very much out. So, all right, first up is a primer from Milani. This is the Milani Glow Drops Radiance Boosting Serum Primer. This has electrolytes and a coconut water blend. It says how to use is apply 1 to 2 pumps all over your face for a dewy glow. Works great as the first step in your makeup routine. I've used this, but it's been a long time. I think I did a first impression on this and then didn't really use it again because it's quite a dewy product and I have historically had very oily skin. It said apply 1 to 2 drops, but it kind of just came out as like one big pump. So hopefully that's not too much product. It's sort of like a peachy tone, but it doesn't claim to do any color correcting, at least not on the bottle. Let's go ahead and apply this, and I'm gonna kind of stick to the outer portions of my face instead of kind of where my T-zone is, where I get pretty shiny. Definitely feels very moisturizing and smells quite a bit like coconut. I'm gonna put some on my forehead. I tend to get some dryness and settling into my lines on my forehead, so I can use all the plumping and hydrating I can get up there. This is really pretty. We'll see how foundation applies on top of it, but this just gave my skin a really nice kind of natural glow to it, and it feels super moisturized. All right, next up for foundation, I got this answer and I had to include it because I completely agree. It is the Neutrogena Sensitive Skin Serum Foundation. I've been raving about this foundation for a while now. It fits perfectly into that like skin tint trend, but it's a foundation. It has decent but pretty light coverage and it just makes your skin look like skin. It's one of my favorite foundations I've ever tried, and look at how it's layering over that primer. I feel like this primer is making this more of a radiant finish, whereas it's typically more of just a natural finish. So if you want a more radiant skin tint, I feel like pairing it with this primer, do you see that? Really gives it a glow. I really like how my skin is looking. My skin is feeling pretty dry because I'm starting a retinol, so I'm looking for a little bit more dewy and glowiness in my products than I typically would, and this combination definitely gives me that. I like these together because this is a little bit on the thicker side. Like, this feels pretty heavy on the skin, not in a bad way, but you can definitely feel that it's there, whereas this feels really light. If you pair this with a thicker, heavier foundation, it might feel like too much is on your face, but if you pair it with a really lightweight foundation, then it just gives a gorgeous glow. All right, surprisingly enough, I didn't get any concealer responses. I guess a lot of the good concealers are very talked about, but I got this quite a bit. This is a corrector. This is the LA Girl Pro Conceal HD Corrector, and I agree that this is quite underrated, but it's been a while since I've repurchased this. And unfortunately, they didn't have the pink shade. That would be a better match for my skin tone, but we're gonna try this peach, because I do have quite a bit of blueness, and hopefully this will help counteract it. I'm not gonna use a ton of this product. I am a huge color corrector advocate. Whenever I get asked about darkness under the eye, people say I just load on the concealer and it still doesn't work, it still doesn't cover the darkness. I always point them to a color corrector because concealer can only take you so far. So rather than going in with loads and loads and loads of concealer, you can go in with a little bit of color corrector and then a little bit of concealer, and the end results can be 10 times better and 10 times less cakey. And I forgot how much I really like this product, and that actually canceled out my blueness really well. This is a much cheaper alternative to the Becca one, even to the Flower Beauty and the Pixie one. I will say that the Becca one is a lot more hydrating than this and the Pixie one, so if you have drier skin, I would go more toward Flower Beauty or the Becca Smashbox. But this one definitely does the job. I agree that this is super underrated. And if you have more oily skin or oily under eyes, this would be a better one than I think any of those other ones to try. And since I didn't get any concealer responses, I'm gonna go in with the Honest Fresh Flex Concealer. This one and the CoverGirl Simply Ageless are my two go-to concealers right now, and they're two of the best concealers that I think have been released in quite a while. They're incredibly natural, but still provide really great coverage. This one is now on Amazon finally. I've been waiting for it to come to Target or Ulta or somewhere other than Honest's site, but it's finally on Amazon, so I will link that down below. This has niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, vitamin E, just sort of feels like an eye cream, but then it provides really beautiful natural coverage. You can see I barely put any concealer on, but since I had already laid down that color corrector, a little bit is all I needed because the blueness had already been counteracted by the orange. All right, next up is the Milani Supercharged Cheek and Lip Multi-Stick. I tried the Wet n Wild version of this a while ago, but I have not tried this one, so I'm excited to try it. This claims to be a luminous gel stick for cheek and lip with a buildable wash of color infused with emollient oils and squalene. All right, we are gonna be glowing to the gods here. I got the shade 160, which is Bronze Voltage. So I'm gonna use this more like a bronzer than a contour. We'll see how this blends. And I'm just gonna use the same brush that I used for foundation just to kind of blend it all in together. So this is almost more like a highlighter than it is a bronzer. You can see most of the product just kind of blended away. Almost reminds me a little bit of the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt, like it's that soft. So you're gonna have to build it up quite a bit to get any real color payoff. Which on top of this primer, I sort of feel like I don't wanna keep building it up because it's getting to feel a little bit heavy on my skin, but I do see a really pretty glow that it's providing and a really natural looking bronze. I think if you have more dry skin and you want a really, really natural glowy bronzer, this might work for you, but on my combo skin, it's starting to feel a little bit heavy and I'm still not really getting the color payoff, at least on my skin tone. So I can definitely see why people may love this, but for my skin type specifically, I feel like I want something with a little bit more color payoff. All right, next up for powder. This is a powder that I recently picked up. This is the Pacifica Cherry Velvet Light Powder. This is their matte translucent setting powder. I really like the packaging. You just kind of open this lid and then there's a mesh bottom right there with the powder. So it's a mess-free packaging. It does smell like cherries, but not in like an obnoxious way, just in a pretty subtle way. And I'm definitely needing some powder. So I'm gonna go to town with this a little bit. See if this can help tone down a little bit of the shine we've got going on here. Do you see how that just instantly kind of blurred and mattified? Definitely a very impressive powder. It really set everything without making me look super shiny or cakey. All right, next up for brows is the Joah Beauty Brow Down to Me. I forgot about this. This was a find for me this year and it has become one of my favorite brow pencils, and it wasn't until someone mentioned this as a response that I was like, oh my gosh, yes. This is such an incredible brow pencil. If you're not familiar with Joah Beauty, they're sold at CVS, and they're a sister brand to Kiss. If you're familiar with like the Kiss lashes, they're sister companies. They have a lot of really, really great products, but I would say out of everything I've tried from them, which I have a few products I'm gonna be trying from them in my next months near the drugstore, but out of everything that I've tried from them, this is probably my favorite product. Very blendable if you mess up, but it also lasts a really long time. Let's move on to eyes. The first product is one that I have never tried before. This is the Ulta Beauty Matte Eye Primer. I'm excited to try this out because this could be another Urban Decay Eye Potion Primer dupe. This claims to be matte. Definitely looks and feels quite a bit like Primer Potion, but you see it kind of evens out the color on my eyelids. Like it's almost acting as if I'm putting a concealer on as well. Picked up a little too much, so this is gonna work for both sides. It doesn't look drying at all. It really just kind of airbrushed my whole lid space. Makes it look really even, the texture and the color. I'm gonna set this with a little bit of translucent powder. I feel like that so far is the winner of this video. I'm really impressed by that eyeshadow primer. We'll see how eyeshadow applies on top. And the eyeshadow that you guys said is the old school ColourPop Super Shock shadows. I had to go buy one because I couldn't find any that aren't completely shattered in my collection. So I got the shade In Axis, and I'm just gonna use my finger to apply this. It looks like a really beautiful dimensional shade. Ooh, yeah, that is so pretty. This reminds me of that Patrick Ta eyeshadow palette. Those gorgeous shimmers in there. In the multi-dimension one that's kind of like the ColourPop one. And I feel like this primer is really helping. Kind of forgot how simple these are to use for just a one eyeshadow affordable makeup look. All right, next up is the Essence Volume Booster Lash Primer. I am totally obsessed with the L'Oreal one, the L'Oreal Lash Primer. So I have to say I haven't used this very much because I'm such a strong supporter of that one. But let's give this one a chance. A lot of you said this one is just as good as the L'Oreal and it's cheaper. Really going on very smoothly. It's not curling quite as much as the L'Oreal one, but definitely adding quite a bit of length. All right, now is the true test to see how mascara applies on top of it. I'm gonna use one of my favorites, which is the Milani Anti-Gravity, because I already know I love this mascara, and this will give the primer the best chance. Definitely helping in the length department. I feel like if you don't want to spend the extra money on the L'Oreal, this one still does a really great job. All right, bronzer is another one that just was not a popular response, so I'm gonna go in with my Juvia's Place bronzer. All right, I have to say that my powder bronzer is kind of breaking up right here on top of that cream bronzer, so unfortunately that's the only thing so far that hasn't really worked for me. For blush, I got the Wet n Wild Color Icon blush in the shade Pearlescent Pink. This used to be all the rage back in the day, but I don't hear people talking about it anymore. So let's go in with this. This reminds me of the NARS Orgasm blush. Just the tone of it and the fact that it has a sheen to it. Ooh, yes. Thank you for bringing this back to me. It's like a really natural sheen and like the perfect pink. All right, another favorite from this video. I didn't get brow gel and I didn't get lip liner, so I'm gonna go in with those real quick and come back with the last two products. All right, for lipstick, my favorite response to this was this one. This is the Flower Beauty Lip Mask in the shade Berry More. This is an actual lip mask with mango and cocoa butter, and then it's also just a gorgeous, like glossy lipstick. It just feels so nourishing, but it looks like you're wearing a lipstick. And it's kind of sticky, so it lasts a long time, and this color, Berry More, is just perfect. 10 out of 10 agree with this one. All right, and then last but not least is the No Filter Setting Mist. So this is supposed to help your makeup stay and kind of remove that powdery look. Check out the mist first. I've never used this before. Ooh, great mist. Smells like sour candy though. It really melted down my makeup. I don't know about the smell, but I love the way that that just made my makeup look. All right, and that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was super fun to film. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here, and I will see you guys in my next one.